Hello, I'm Will Sampson. Welcome to the Woodworking Network podcast. Welcome to the Woodworking Network podcast, where we explore the business of woodworking and what it takes to succeed. I'm Will Sampson. This episode is sponsored by FDMC Magazine, and don't forget to take our survey at woodworkingnetwork.com/podcast-survey. Today we'll be talking some more with Leland Thomasset of Taghkanic Woodworking in Pawling, New York, about his involvement in the innovative nationwide home office furniture startup called Baru. But first, let's talk about decentralizing manufacturing. They say that with every crisis comes opportunity, and I know that's true. I've met more than a few entrepreneurs who started businesses when the economy was doing a nosedive. All the naysayers were telling them they were crazy, but they saw a chance for success and were willing to risk their sweat and their silver to make it happen. Now is one of those times. While many small businesses are suffering from the coronavirus crisis and subsequent lockdowns, others are seeing a chance for successful startups. We've been talking with Leland Thomasset of Taghkanic Woodworking about his involvement in the startup Baru. The company is going after the home office furniture market. Demand for home office furniture has skyrocketed because so many office workers have been forced to work from home. Add to that the number of families that have suddenly been faced with school-age children staying home. Whether they are homeschooling, remote learning, or doing some hybridized learning program, those students need space to do their lessons. If everybody in one household is juggling for space at the kitchen table, you can guarantee there will be some impetus to set up dedicated desks elsewhere in the house. But how do we supply that furniture to fill that need? Baru's answer is distributed manufacturing. It's not really a new idea in woodworking. Several companies have tried schemes to take manufacturing out of big factories and somehow spread it around to small shops. But now, with the COVID concerns creating remote work and remote learning, more people may consider distributed manufacturing. It has the potential to put profits in the pockets of small shops with excess high-tech CNC machine capabilities, while cutting lead times to customers even with custom options. There are lots of negatives out there right now with managing the pandemic and an uncertain economy, but seizing this opportunity for a new decentralized manufacturing model could be a long-term benefit for a lot of small shops. Now let's continue our talk with someone who is doing exactly that, Leland Thomasset. But before we get to Leland, let's pause for a word from our sponsor. FDMC Magazine is your vital source of information to improve your woodworking business. Whether it is keeping you apprised of the latest advances in manufacturing, helping you solve your wood technology problems with Gene Wengert, or inspiring you with case histories about successful businesses and best practices, FDMC Magazine is there to be the sharpest business tool in your shop. Learn more and subscribe for free at woodworkingnetwork.com/FDMC. Now let's get back to Leland Thomasset. In addition to running his own shop, Taghkanic Woodworking in Pawling, New York, Leland is the design engineer for Baru, new startup building home office furniture with a distributed manufacturing model.
So the key here is that you're not having to make all this stuff. The manufacturing is distributed to regional other small shops like yours around the country, so that they can do the work. So that has a double benefit of giving you access to more folks, and then for the customers, it means that the product is being made closer to them.
Correct.
And then the thing too, I guess, that really sets it apart from, say, IKEA or something like that, is that, as I understand it, in most cases, you're not shipping flat pack or ready to assemble, that these shops are actually assembling and delivering completed furniture to people.
Correct. And then for those who don't want to do that, we've also in Madison, Wisconsin, up in Seattle, I was able to set up with there are quite a few delivery install services, especially if there's an IKEA around, that are more than willing for a fixed price to come pick up the parts from the shop, make the arrangements. They know how to get in and out of these buildings if they're in some of the bigger cities, and they take it and they set it up. If it's a small, like the small sit-to-stand desk, I mean, those can pretty much be assembled at the shop. But some of the, we have some armoires and room dividers, which are big and heavy, so those go flat. Using all cabineos for our knockdown fasteners, which are great because we can put them in at the shop. They're plastic. There's no pin sticking out, so there's no scratching the surface.
That's the latest Lamello connector
Correct.
System for
Correct.
CNC automation.
Right, and very strong. I mean, just compared to others out there, I mean, it's impressively strong. We've been at the sort of lateral squat test to see if we could make a table implode. You know, I always sort of picture Uncle Harry having a few too many at the Christmas party and deciding to cop a squat on the coffee table and it pancaking on him. So, you know, I try to design to prevent that. So it's cool, and they go together very easily. You know, and the shops, our manufacturing partners, I mean, so far we've stood up at Portland, Seattle, LA, San Francisco, Madison, Washington, DC, Boston, and New York. And that's all been in the past 3 weeks. We had New York and LA originally.
Wow. But that gives you good locations in a lot of the tech centers around the country.
Right. Those all happen to be Google tech centers. So Google's been really big with this, and we'll be doing the same thing with Apple and Facebook shortly. We'll be listed with them. So, you know, anybody that's working from home, you know, it's the biggest challenge. Like everything, even when I started my closet business, is, you know, how do you get people to know that you exist? You know, that's the marketing. That's one of the tough things when you're making a product rather than having people coming to you seeking out expertise in, you know, an elaborate custom-made kitchen, you know, that takes months. When you're taking a product to market, there's a lot more time and effort that has to be spent on getting people to know you.
Absolutely, yes. Now, what's the response so far? I mean, it sounds like you're expanding a lot, but you know, are you getting the sales? Are people buying?
They are. I mean, that's, like I said, with help from Google, it's pushed it. We were at CES in January. We were invited by MIT and Harvard have a startup incubator called the RAV Group, and they got us a booth space, donated it to us, and we were able to show it. The Consumer Electronics Show, which was cool because everybody was
How
like,
does that compare to IWF? A little different.
Oh,
Huh?
it's just IWF is so teeny. It's just it's the park. Anybody that's been to Vegas and seen AWFS and the convention center and the monorail and that big parking lot there. That big parking lot is nothing but 2- and 3-story temporary buildings. There's not a car park there. I mean, it's just the amount of space taken over. It's every square inch of Vegas and beyond, even out in the desert a little bit. There's spaces that are taken over. So, you know, as the word has gotten out, it's starting to take off, and we've done fairly well in New York just because we're here, and this New York was our first market that we were focusing on. But yeah, market. You know, it's getting people to know us has been the tough part.
Well, I think too, one of the big advantages that you have of this model is being able to deliver a finished product that is custom, but deliver it quickly. You're promising like 2 weeks or something like that?
Yep, 2 weeks or less.
Wow.
Which so far we've done all right with. So some of one or two of the new markets would say it might be a little bit longer than 2 weeks because we have to find a shop. So and with COVID, originally the idea was I was going to be able to maybe take some in-person visits and vet shops. So right now it's all been virtual. Like, hi, I see from your website you have a CNC and you use software.
You're our boy.
That's how the conversation starts.
Well, so where is this going next? Is it just you're just trying to find more distributed manufacturing potential and more locales?
Yep, the goal is the world to have it worldwide. It's one of those things where the platform was designed with matching that automated manufacturing that lies all over the world and needs for custom whatever in a short amount of time. We happened to start with cabinetry, because that's where the founder was familiar with the industry. But ideally, say you own a Porsche and you want to have a custom fender flare made, and there's a 3D printer in your neighborhood, commercial 3D printing operation that has excess capacity, that they're going to be able to marry that technology with the need from the designer using the portal. So for as far as immediate need is for Baru is to obviously continue to raise capital. That's there's been a lot of focus on getting more than just seed money. They've been able to raise several $100,000, and they're looking for sort of the next step so that they can, they want to hire myself and the CTO, the Chief Technology Officer. He works for GE, designing military and civilian flight simulators. Basically, Baru wants to be able to hire us both full time, which obviously will take more money than we have right now. So for now, it's just trying to little guerrilla marketing, beat the pavement, get investors. A lot of investors will take you under their wing and help get the word out. So the home offices and the timing of that have been good because there's a huge need for it, and it's everywhere. Especially with people working from home, that's for I think every cabinet maker out there, there's going to be some exposure to the home office furnishings market. I mean, there's just as kids staying home, they're going to need homework rooms, and that whether it's taking the garage and putting a pellet stove in there and creating an office, and maybe it's a 1-car garage instead of a 2-car garage.
Right.
It's just finding that space and making it functional so that people can get the lighting right so that you can do conference calls.
Now,
Zoom meetings.
With the distributed manufacturing, what challenges have you had with manufacturers across the country and supply chain? I mean,
supply chain has probably been the biggest thing. Getting code to the companies I was worried about, that seems to be the easiest part of it so far. That has pretty much worked very smoothly, seamlessly. When I originally chose the materials I was choosing, I had asked my local rep and the regional reps if this would be available pretty much countrywide, and they felt that yes, it was available in all the tier 1 markets, and that hasn't been the case. So we've had to substitute on the fly, find other similar items, in the market. So it's the initial manufacturing partners. We've tasked them with introducing us to their vendors, finding out what materials are being used in their geographical regions, and there might be some modification of the model that we're going to have to be a little more geographic with materials that we're choosing, but within reason, because I think there can't be too many SKUs, right? It gets so out of hand that it's very difficult to manage. So I'd say logistics, supply chain, getting materials to our manufacturing partners on time. I mean, originally the first few on the West Coast, we were having stuff shipped from the East Coast, and it was eating up a week plus. So
hard to make those 2-week time frames when you got that.
Yes, yeah. So right now that's something we've been dialing in, is like, all right, we need to set up relationships with vendors, and we've asked our manufacturing partners who those people would be. That's probably been the biggest hurdle. And I get feedback on every model. Every time somebody builds it, they say, well, if you did this, it might be easier and quicker, and so it allows me to quickly adapt the models.
Continuous improvement.
Yes, absolutely. Simpler, better, faster.
Well, it's a wonderful model and kind of exciting, and I definitely want to stay up to date on how things go with it. Now, what's the website if people are interested in looking at the furniture? It's Hello Baru.
Sure. It's www.hellobaru.com.
Okay. And if somebody in our audience is interested in becoming one of your distributed manufacturers, who should they contact?
They can contact myself, Leland. I can give you a phone number, my contact information. It's Taghkanic Woodworking. My email is taghkanic@comcast.net.
And if they can spell Taghkanic,
if they can spell Taghkanic, they're working for us. They're hired. The easiest way is probably our phone number, which is 845-855-5018.
That's great. Well, I look forward to hearing more about this. I think it's a really interesting model, and certainly something that fills a need in the current situation. And we'll probably be talking with you more as time goes on. And I wish you the best of luck with this.
Thank you. Actually, one of the dressers that was at the CES is actually behind me.
They look great.
Yeah. So it's cool. It's a cool project. I've never been part of a startup, where you're chasing venture capital. So it's at 61, I'm learning lots of new things. So it's all good.
You can teach the old dog new tricks.
You can, all the time. Continuous improvement.
That's wonderful, Leland. Well, thank you for giving us this rundown on this new project, and we will be back in touch in the future.
Absolutely, and thank you, Will.
That's it for today. You can find all of our podcasts at woodworkingnetwork.com/podcasts and in popular podcast channels. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Thanks again to today's sponsor, FDMC Magazine. If you have a comment or topic you'd like us to explore, contact me at will.sampson@woodworkingnetwork.com. And we would really appreciate it if you fill out the survey at woodworkingnetwork.com/podcast-survey. Thanks for listening.